Eastern Conference semifinal Game 6. Moments ago, the Miami Heat, trailing the series 3-2, made their entrance on the floor. Miami trails 3-2. If they win tonight, it's back to Miami for Game 7. If the Knicks win, they lock it up and they go on to Chicago. But they will have to do so with suspended players not participating. Good evening, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist. Welcome back to New York City. You know about the brawl at the end of Game 5. You know about the ramifications, I'm sure. 3 New York Knicks will not play tonight. Patrick Ewing suspended, Allen Houston suspended, and Charlie Ward suspended. I'm joined, as always, by Doc Rivers. Doc, the impact in the playoffs. And as if this crowd needed any more emotion, during the time we were away on the giant screen overhead, they showed the fabled reappearance of Willis Reed in May of 1970 and equated it to the absence of the 3 suspended players tonight.
Yeah, electricity would be the best way to explain that. And the first shot goes in for the Knicks. Larry Johnson is going to have to do that all night if the Knicks have any chance of winning this game tonight, Vern.
Tim Hardaway, guarded by Chris Childs. Fatigue very much on the mind of Jeff Van Gundy when it comes to Chris Childs. Here's Mourning. The double comes from Oakley. Mashburn takes the jumper for 3. In and out. Rebound Marley. Puts it up and in.
And that's why Dan Marley is starting. He's a veteran player. You know this crowd will not affect him. The key with Dan Marley, he's had some back problems. The key is if he can stand the pressure himself physically.
First turnover of the game. Hardaway, who has had a horrible shooting series with the exception of Game 2 when he scored 34 points. And there's a quick whistle from Jimmy Clark.
Yeah, but much has been made about Allen Houston, that plan, and Patrick Ewing. I think Charlie Ward is almost as important because him and Chris Childs have double-teamed Tim Hardaway all series, you know, as far as playing time and putting pressure on. Without him, Childs has to do it all by himself.
Steal by Oakley. Off the pass from Deshaun Leonard. His starts. He goes to Chris Childs. Empty pass, Larry Johnson. They'll work on Marley again. Clear it out. The double team comes from Hardaway. Johnson short off the glass. Mashburn with a rebound. Now Miami, they trail, or it's tied rather 2-2 on Marley's putback. Underneath, knocked out of bounds by Oakley. And Miami will inbound.
And as important as P.J. Brown has been, Charles Oakley is just as important for the Knicks, and he's still on the court. So that's one advantage the Knicks do have.
Marley inbounds. From the corner, Deshaun Leonard had a big 5th game. And led all scorers for Miami with 21. Here's Childs with the jumper. Hardaway at the other end. He'll take the jumper for 3. No, off the front rim. Oakley, quick outlet pass. Childs forces it up, takes it all the way up and in.
This is what Jeff Van Gundy said he had to do. He said, listen, you look at our guys on the court, we're not good enough to play half-court basketball with the Heat. We're going to run the ball tonight.
Mourning has not had a good series. Guarded by Buck Williams to start. The return pass to Mourning goes up and under. Tip, no good, tipped out. Miami ball. Watch Chris Childs with the penetration a moment ago.
Well, early in the series, we said Chris Childs should look to set up his teammates more. Tonight, he's going to have to score points for the Knicks.
Here's Hardaway. 3 of 17 shooting in Game 5. Kick it back to Mashburn. He looks underneath. Buck Williams shadowing Mourning. Marley with the scoop shot.
Making Riley look like a genius already. Dan Marley has 4 points for the Heat.
9:25 to go in the opening quarter. A 2-point New York lead. Pick and roll with Larry Johnson. Mashburn gets back to defend. Johnson takes him to the basket, too strong. Gets his own rebound, puts it in.
And right now you can see the Knicks are fired up. They're fired up about the situation, and the crowd has them going. The Heat just have to stay close, Vern, in this early going.
Get the sense they're playing better already. New York, that is, Doc, than they did in Game 5.
Well, they're playing with more intensity.
Foul on Buck Williams.
See, and I like this also what Riley is doing. He is continuing every play now. If it hasn't been an open court, he's going down to Alonzo Mourning. He's going to try to wear those guys out. Early substitution here by Jeff Van Gundy.
And here's one of the effects of the absence of Patrick Ewing, as Herb Williams, who's old enough to remember when Deuteronomy was written.
You know, it was funny. I was telling Vern, we watch Herb Williams warm up. Usually he just kind of walks through it because he knows he's not going to play. Today he skipped through it the entire time.
Herb Williams and Buck Williams, the two who did not come off the bench to join the fray the other night, showing the wisdom of age. Starks off his foot. That'll be Miami ball. Dan Marley's baseline move a moment ago.
Well, if you can't get it in the post, you should drive the basketball to the basket until someone stops you. Dan Marley did that great.
Pick and roll, Alonzo Mourning. Hardaway finds Mashburn. Mashburn, Marley. Herb Williams out on him. Here's the three. No. Miami 0 for 4 on three-pointers. They've averaged 7 of 20 in the 5 games played thus far. Herb Williams with the pick and roll. And he's open for the shot. Deshaun Leonard rebound. Threw it away. As Hardaway slips.
Tim Hardaway slips down. Can't avoid those. I mean, that's just something that happens right there.
I'm beginning to get the sense that that is a lucky warm-up for Spike Lee.
Yes.
Either that or he's got a very limited wardrobe. That's 3 games in a row here that we've seen Spike in the orange pullover. Starks. Herb Williams. Larry Johnson tries to keep it alive, but Mourning gets it.
I like what the refs are doing tonight. They're allowing the guys to play.
Hardaway in and out. Herb Williams gets the rebound for New York. Childs searches off the glass.
And that's what they need. They need somebody else to score points. You need Larry Johnson and John Starks and someone else. Right now it's been all Chris Childs.
Underneath, Mourning hasn't gotten off the mark yet, but he will go to the free throw line, where he has struggled throughout the 5 games played.
Yeah, and you know they were going to do that because every time he gets a layup, they're going to use a foul. The one area the Knicks do have an advantage is in the big spot. They have a lot of big men on the court. They have some on the bench, and they can use some fouls. And you can bet if Herb Williams is around, he will definitely be fouled. They want Herb to use all 6 of his fouls tonight.
Mourning at 50% through the series, gets the first free throw. The foul was called on Charles Oakley, his first, and the 3rd team foul. Right where he's been through the 5 games.
Yeah, and he's done that a lot. Early in the series, he missed them both. Now he's at 1 for 2, so at least he's getting better.
Starks 21 in each of the last 2 games. He'll be suspended for Game 7 or Game 1, whichever is next for New York. Here's Deshaun Leonard. He's guarded by Larry Johnson. Underneath the Mourning, with 39-year-old Herb Williams doing the defensive work. And Alonzo Mourning taking that 39-year-old with him.
Yeah, that's right. If you're going to ISO and not give Herb Williams help, Alonzo Mourning's going to use his quickness, and he's going to get there all night. I think they should go to Alonzo all night long.
Another ball knocked out of bounds. Watch this again.
Yeah, just look at this. There's no help for him. There's no baseline help. By the time you can react, it's too late. They got to get down and wake up a little bit defensively.
Larry Johnson will inbound it now. League rules dictate you must suit up 9 in the playoffs. Thus, the 4 suspended players. Here's Starks with his first basket. Starks and Larry Johnson will be suspended for either Game 7 of this series or Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, whichever is played on Sunday. Now, here's Mourning. Kicks it back out to Deshaun Leonard. Hardaway. Mashburn. Over Oakley. Nope. Rebound Starks. John wants to run. Deshaun Leonard, he kicks it back outside for Charles Oakley. 5:50 to go in the opening quarter. Here's Chris Childs. Ah, beauty. Finds the open man. It's Oakley. Oh, wow.
Chris Childs right now is carrying the Knicks with his offensive play.
Early 14-7 lead, 5:33 to go in the opening quarter. Starks guards Leonard. One of the things Deshaun Leonard will not have to do tonight is defend Allen Houston.
And that's another subtle thing. I think Deshaun Leonard should have a big game tonight. Not only does he have to not think about it, he can get his shot off anytime he wants to over John Starks.
Back to Leonard. Shot clock violation.
Oh, wow. And you know what? Jeff Van Gundy told us something earlier today. He said, listen, I'm not worried about my team defensively. I'm worried if we can score points. Right now, they're showing that they can play defense, and actually, Vern, they're scoring points.
5:15 to go. Here's Mashburn, replaced by Ike Austin. New York with Johnson and Childs scoring 10 on 6 of 7 shooting. Chris Childs, who's averaged only 7 points per game in the 5 played thus far. Back to Larry Johnson. Marley has him. Starks off the screen from Oakley. Loose ball. Chased down by New York. Childs. Mismatch with Mourning.
Picked his dribble up when he had Mourning on him.
Herb Williams got it. Oh. A 6-0 run for the Knicks.
Well, Vern, he's 39 years old playing in the NBA for a reason. He can still play.
His demeanor in the warm-up was really interesting, though. You noticed him right away. There's Mourning with the count.
Yeah, he had all the skip of a 22-year-old kid. He enjoys this still.
Willie Anderson, who's had a terrific 2-game set for Miami, is getting ready to come in for Pat Riley. Anderson, a non-factor in the first 3 games.
Well, only a non-factor because he didn't get a chance to play.
Right.
And now he's playing. I think that's nice that he can contribute. You know,
Herb Williams.
Yeah, when he played in his earlier days, he really had a nice low post game, and he shows a little bit of it there. I think Alonzo has been really good so far. He's playing great defense. He's intense, and he has not picked up any silly fouls.
Oakley. And it's a 9-point lead for the New York Knicks. Marley needs some help as Childs picks up Tim Hardaway again. Deshaun Leonard goes to the bench, replaced by Willie Anderson. Here's Mourning. They'll double on the dribble. Oakley comes to help. Austin, no shot clock at 7.
No spacing for the Heat right now.
Marley from way outside, air ball. Here comes Starks. A chance for a double-digit lead. And the crowd was ready for it.
They are.
At the other end, here's Hardaway. Slow start for Tim Hardaway. That ends that.
That's what he can do. He can do that all night, and Riley wants him to do that, but it's kind of tough tonight. Riley is looking at his size advantage with Alonzo Mourning, so he won't mind slowing it down a little bit either. 8 minutes each. I don't know if they can do that. I think Scotty Brooks will come into play in this game at some point.
Chris Childs, guarded by Hardaway. It's in the 7-point. Illegal defense. That's the first of the night. That's the morning.
And that's what the Knicks need from someone else. Since Patrick Ewing is not here, they need that low post presence.
And one more note on the suspended players. They are not allowed by league rule to be in the building. So Ewing is in New Jersey, I presume. Allen Houston and Charlie Ward in Connecticut.
You're watching the basketball game. And P.J. Brown is either in Miami or New York. We're not for sure.
There's the jumper. Starks for 2.
I think right now, the Miami Heat, they have to match the Knicks' intensity. You knew they were going to come out with it, and that's what the Heat has to do. If they can do that, they'll be fine.
Willie Anderson works on Starks to get open. Here's Hardaway guarded by Childs. Marley off the curl. Looks for Mourning. Mourning guarded by Larry Johnson. There's the basket over Johnson.
And that's what he has to do. Just take his time. Without Patrick Ewing on the court, Alonzo Mourning is the biggest guy. He can get his shot off whenever he wants to.
Underneath, Johnson. Yes.
Creative.
Had a great series against Charlotte. Has played well in the first half of this series. Has not been used a lot in the fourth quarter of games in this series. Here's Mourning again. Final 2 minutes of the first quarter. Tough defense from Herb Williams. Marley. Nice strong move. He goes down. And Ike Austin gets the basket and then has to hang on the rim because of the players lying down underneath.
Charles Oakley looking for the charging foul. I think that was not. He just got there. It was not. The ball was gone already. Let the play. Your play. Another illegal defense.
Second illegal defense, so the technical will be forthcoming.
You would think the Knicks would be the teams with the illegal defense without Patrick Ewing on the court. Look at Larry Johnson here. He really went out there to try to draw the foul. He didn't get it, so he had to be creative and make the shot.
That is the first New York free throw tonight.
That's another area where I think that he have an advantage tonight and they should try to exploit. I think they can get to the free throw line more than the Knicks can. The problem with the Heat, they don't make theirs.
Giles with a runner short. Ike Austin with a rebound for Miami, and here comes Tim Hardaway. Hardaway with a dribble penetration, kicks it back to Willie Anderson. And they look inside for Alonzo Mourning. The help comes from Chris Childs in the lane, and Mourning will go to the free throw line again.
Mourning is getting a touch every time down the court.
Jeff Van Gundy on the perimeter tonight. Miami 2 of 9. Look at New York thus far.
Well, they have to be. That's the only place that they can score right now is out front. Everybody on the Knicks team right now on that court shoots jump shots. Then they're low post players. I guess you can say Charles Oakley can do it a little bit and Larry Johnson can do it a lot, but they're shooting jumpers tonight.
Game 1, the Western Finals, the Sonics or the Rockets against the Jazz from Salt Lake City on TNT at 8 o'clock Eastern Time Monday. Mourning is now 1 of 4 from the free throw line.
And every miss on the free throw line to a player becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And that also takes a lot of aggressiveness out of you. If you start missing, you don't want to get fouled anymore.
Larry Johnson was thinking impact when he went up for the dunk. Out of bounds. It was touched last by Miami as Johnson lost the ball and it was touched by a member of the Heat.
Fortunate.
Yes.
I thought that was off of Larry Johnson.
Oh. Oakley fouled hard by Ike Austin. He couldn't control the pass. He was set up perfectly.
Yeah, nice fake. And the whole play was coming out of bounds play. They drew up a nice play. Oakley back cuts and gets an easy layup and gets fouled.
Oakley drew the technical. He had the hard pick on Hardaway with 1:55 to go in the game. Then stepped over Hardaway and got into an altercation with Mourning.
And really, that's what started the whole spray in Miami. P.J. Brown got a lot of heat. Charlie Ward got a lot of heat. Those are the two of the nicest guys in this league. And unfortunately, because of what happened a minute and a half before that, in my opinion, is what started that whole thing.
A minute and a half in real time, of course, after the technical and the rejection. It was actually on the clock, 2 seconds difference, 1:55, 1:53. But you even thought that Oakley might have intended it.
Yeah, I thought he intended to get attacked. Obviously, he didn't intend for what happened afterwards. He was doing something, whatever it was, we don't know. But you knew he wanted to get thrown out of that game.
Mourning. Clock shows 35 seconds to go. There's Alonzo working on Herb Williams.
And that's what he has to do. Be patient and quick at the same time, if you know what I mean. Take your time, but when you go quick. If Herb Williams is going to guard him, he can go around him, and he should.
4 straight for Alonzo Mourning. The lead is 8. 13 on the shot clock. Starts Willie Anderson. Starts. Go on.
I don't think there was any doubt who was going to take that shot. And he makes it.
Back to a 10-point margin. Anderson throws up. Well, it might put a paragraph at the period at the end of the paragraph. That's what he did.
Yeah, he threw it up because he was looking for a foul. Didn't get the call. Knicks ball.
Traveling turnover. 6.4 to go in the first quarter of play. Giles at the buzzer. No. But Chris Childs got the kind of start he'd hoped for.
And he needs that, and so do the Knicks.
Just before he left the hotel, a lot of conversation and articles written about the suspension of Ewing, particularly because he was not near the fray, but he was definitely off the bench.
And that's the rule. So if that's the rules, you have to sit.
Up and under for Tim Hardaway as they run a play for him in the post right off the bat.
And I think that's good. I was telling Vern, it's really tough when you're having a big advantage that Alonzo Mourning has in size to try to go to him every time. But you must keep Tim Hardaway involved in your offense. And so I think that's a nice call by Pat Riley.
Larry Johnson guarded by Marley. The double comes from Ike Austin. Now here's Herb Williams to John Starks. There's the switch. Austin. Pump fake Starks. Rebound Hardaway. Hardaway, he's got Willie Anderson in the corner, and he tries to get there, but Larry Johnson knocks it out of bounds. (27-19). Hardaway, pick and roll with Mourning. Fakes the jumper, skip pass out to Marley, who spots up for three. Nailed it.
A great pass because Alonzo Mourning had a shot. He could have easily taken that shot. He saw a guy like Dan Marley wide open behind the three, and he found him. That's a great pass by Alonzo Mourning.
And a nice start for Miami, which is going to bring John Wallace, the rookie from Syracuse, off the bench for New York. Starks. Pass inside to Johnson. And he will go to the free throw line. Mourning passes on the shot.
Yeah, take a look here. That's the shot right there for Alonzo Mourning, and that's another one. But he looks over across the court, and he finds Dan Marley wide open. I am so impressed right now with the way Alonzo Mourning is playing. In this atmosphere, to have composure for him as hard as he plays is really impressive.
Larry Johnson, his erstwhile teammate at Charlotte, gets the first free throw and will shoot one more.
You know, I think some of that anxiety has been removed. He's at his house in New Jersey watching Patrick Ewing. that might be one reason.
There's 7'1" worth of anxiety that's in New Jersey right now. Back to a 7-point edge, 29-22. Larry Johnson picks up Marley. Here comes Willie Anderson with the curl. Now they get it in the hands of Mourning again. Herb Williams. Mourning, strong move, little runner, no, tip. John Starks has it, and New York will run. 5 rebounds for Starks. Chris Childs pulls up, too strong, just off the back rim. Marley from Miami. Mourning wants to get position. Back to Hardaway, skip pass. Anderson underneath quickly to Ike Austin. Tough shot.
Big shot for Ike Austin. He's been struggling a little bit. I thought last game he played really well. Didn't score a lot of points, but I thought he had energy, and that's something I think he's lacked in this series so far.
New York with an early rebounding edge of 3. 9:40 to go first in the game. Oh, boy. Charles Oakley with a moving pick on Hardaway that was reminiscent of what we saw near the end of Game 5.
Yes, it was.
Oh, there was a body on a body. And Oakley got the foul. Saw that just to the right side. 29-24, 9:27 to go in the first half of play. Oakley fronts Mourning. Off the glass, the rebound, Ike Austin. And Buck Williams, who's back on the floor, takes it away from Ike Austin. Bounce pass in the corner. Oakley. Beauty.
Yeah, and you can see the Knicks really running, trying to get easy shots. They know if they allow Miami to set their defense, they're going to have a tough time scoring. They haven't allowed Miami to do that yet.
Oakley is a perfect 3 for 3. New York shooting well. Austin. Oakley backs off of him. They go back to Mourning. Buck Williams with the defensive assignment now. And Mourning is off to a big start.
And you had to predict that. You know, that's where you go. There's no big Patrick Ewing helping from weak side. Now, Patrick Ewing did not guard Alonzo much.
Right.
But he was the weak side helper. Now there's no weak side helper.
Starks looks inside for Buck Williams. Mourning guards him. And Alonzo Mourning has picked up a foul.
That's Buck Williams. He knows he has to try whatever he can do to get Buck or to get Alonzo Mourning in foul trouble, and he drew one right there.
Well, Alonzo thought he was being taken out of the game, and he started for the bench. There's the foul.
And you can see this. All he has to do is take his time, turn around, and shoot. Even if there is weak side help, there's nobody who is as tall as him and who will make him adjust his shot.
Buck Williams is not having, he's having an Alonzo Mourning experience at the free throw line in the series.
Yeah, Shaq's at home dying laughing. You know, he's saying these guys can't shoot free throws.
So's Chris Dudley.
Yes.
And somewhere Chamberlain has just looked up and said,
But we're going to have to leave Shaq alone, because I tell you what, he shot him well in the Utah series.
Did indeed. Lead is 6, 8:22 to go. New York can cinch the series with a victory tonight. Here's Hardaway. Back to Alonzo Mourning. Now Hardaway, guarded by Childs, gets the screen from Mourning, open for the return pass. For three, no.
Well, if they get that all night out of Alonzo, the Knicks will be in great shape.
Starks threw it into the hands of Spike Lee. Not his intended target.
No, and I think it probably will be a high turnover night for the Knicks, because they're going to do a lot of things that they're not used to doing. Running and fast breaking every time up the court. That's 4 already.
4 on Starks. Lead is 6. The largest lead has been 10. Mashburn in the post. Guarded by Wallace. Takes the little fadeaway off the front rim. Oakley with a rebound for New York. John Wallace over Mashburn. Rebound Alonzo Mourning, and here comes Tim Hardaway. 7:28 to go in the first half of play. Marling, Ike Austin. Bodies on the floor as Oakley was thrown down by Mourning. At the other end, here's Buck Williams, and another turnover.
Yeah, caught the ball out of bounds. Wide open, but he was out of bounds. This is probably why Buck Williams was so wide out of bounds, so wide open, because he was out of bounds. I don't know if his foot was there, though. I'm sure it was. He didn't argue much.
Mashburn, Hardaway, Deshaun Leonard getting ready to come back in. Here's Alonzo Mourning. He's got 11 points. Goes baseline with a left-handed shot. Loose ball picked up by Starks. New York will run. They've got players on the right. Oh, what a beauty by Hardaway.
Read it all the way.
Got right in the way, and here's Hardaway with a jumper. No, Miami is cold.
5 turnovers already for John Starks. Tim Hardaway, read that play the entire way.
And timeout has been called by the Knicks as you look at the play by Tim Hardaway.
Yeah, you can see it all the way. He knew exactly where John Starks was going.
Here's Chris Childs. John Wallace. In and out. Good position for the rebound from Mike Austin.
And Jeff Van Gundy is strategizing right now. John Wallace is in at the 2-guard spot.
Ooh, I like that. Strategizing.
That's a new word.
That's it. No, it's that Marquette stuff. Quick pass. Oh, boy. Buck Williams couldn't do a thing because Mourning had great position.
Great position, and there's no strategy for that. Alonzo's quicker, stronger, and taller.
Here's Childs. Wallace on the give and go. Back to Buck Williams. Too strong. John Wallace with the rebound. And New York has struggled.
Yeah, and you knew this. Miami, what they did, they stayed in the game in the New York first energy run, and that's what they played on emotion. Now the Heat's back in the game, and have you noticed how quiet it is? The crowd's tired, too. They came with a lot of emotion.
In this quarter, the Knicks 1 of 7, and they turned it over a ton. Childs gets a pick from Oakley. Starks and Scotty Brooks getting ready to come on for Jeff Van Gundy. Oakley for 2.
Right now, it's been Chris Childs and Charles Oakley who've done most of the scoring for the Knicks.
5:15 to go in the half. Childs guards Hardaway. Deshaun Leonard pops out. Looks inside for Austin. Now they'll run the isolation, and here's Deshaun Leonard. Whoops. Good job by Larry Johnson.
Yeah. That was really a nice job. You know, I thought he could have beat him off the dribble. He elected to pull up. He pulls up on a guy who's bigger than him. Larry Johnson could follow the shot.
Back to Oakley. Jumper.
Oh, my. Charles Oakley right now is 5 for 5 from the field.
Back to a 6-point lead. And back-to-back baskets for the Knicks. Riley's going to put Marley back in. Here's Mourning. Deshaun Leonard. Now Wallace has him. The switch with Buck Williams. Hardaway. Tough shot. Got it.
Tell you what, the Knicks are making the Heat take some tough shots right now. Tim Hardaway, again, I think he can do that whenever he wants to.
They front. Deshaun Leonard fronts on Wallace. Gets his own miss. Tapped out. And Johnson gets it to Oakley, who's perfect from the field.
And he wanted that one. He wanted to shoot that one so bad.
Wallace fights for position with Leonard in the post. Put back. Up and in.
Now, you know, John Wallace is running down court shaking his head. He's upset because he missed that shot. He doesn't realize that that shot is what got Buck Williams that tip because Alonzo Mourning had to help.
But Oakley's had the hot hand. Brooks and John Starks are on for New York now. Here's Scotty Brooks.
And this is what the Heat will do every time Scotty Brooks is in.
Jeff Van Gundy said that was his biggest concern. It was Mashburn for 3.
And the fact that Tim Hardaway posted up is the reason why Mashburn gets a three-pointer.
3:20 to go in the half and a 3-point lead. Johnson off the dribble. In and out. Tracked down by Mourning. 4 rebounds for Alonzo Mourning.
And this is what Scotty Brooks is going to do. He wants to pressure Tim Hardaway all night.
Loses him, though, and Hardaway with the three-pointer that's off the rim. New York will run. Back to Scott Brooks. Left side, Larry Johnson. Traveling. 8 turnovers for New York. Chris Childs with a very quick rest, and Scott Brooks
with a very short time on the court.
I think Jeff Van Gundy saw that post up and said, whoops.
Yeah, and then they get the three-pointer. Scotty Brooks tries to press, falls down. Jeff Van Gundy said, I'll try him again in the second half.
Hardaway guarded by Childs. Had the baseline, didn't realize it. Mashburn, Marley, Craig Sager telling us that during that last time out, Riley said, let's get the high pick and roll. Not this time, however. This time it's a turnover.
Yeah, they want the pick and roll to try to get open shooters because right now, what the Knicks are doing, they're not double teaming Alonzo. They're letting Alonzo beat him.
2:25 to go in the first half of play. Miami facing elimination, playing without P.J. Brown. Here's Starks underneath. That was blocked by Mashburn, or Leonard. Back underneath. And Mashburn takes Buck Williams down. That's an expected play.
Yeah, it's expected from both teams anytime. But if Alonzo Mourning or Buck Williams are near the basket, both teams are going to foul. They want to see both those guys shoot free throws, or they don't want to see them both shoot free throws.
New York 6 of 7 at the line. The one miss was Buck Williams. New York has yet to foul in this quarter.
Well, the only guy who has gone to the line for Miami has been Alonzo Mourning,
where he is 1 of 4.
And that's the absence of a P.J. Brown.
Buck Williams got them both. Back to a 5-point margin. If you just joined us, this is Game 6, the Eastern Conference Semifinals. If Miami wins tonight, there will be a Game 7 on NBC on Sunday. If New York wins tonight, it will be Game 1 against Chicago on Sunday. Hardaway with the jumper, yes. Oh.
He can create all night, and he's doing it right now. Right now, the Heat are having big games from their 2 big guys.
Here's Buck Williams. Up and under move, too strong. Oakley fights for it. Gets it back to Buck Williams. It's on the floor and taken away by Hardaway. Now a whistle and a foul on Oakley. That's his 3rd. So Van Gundy calls on John Wallace.
And you know they're watching Charles Oakley. You know, he's the one guy on the court that a lot of people feel got the biggest break of all by still being here.
He was in the locker room when the brawl ensued. I think there's a reasonable assumption that if 5 other guys came on the court, he would have been with them.
Yeah, I don't know if he would have been a peacemaker.
Hardaway and Childs a moment ago.
Yeah, going at it, and they both are very quick, but Tim Hardaway is so strong and he has such a strong lower body. I'm not going to say butt. I'm going to say strong lower body burn. And you can see right here, he spaces out, and he gets a shot. That step back gave him some room to get that shot off. He can get that shot off on guys who are bigger than him or smaller than him. He's just a great low post player.
Point production nearly the same. 3 assists to 5 assists, and neither has turned it over yet. Coming up on the Nike halftime report, Dikembe Mutombo joins Ernie Johnson in our Atlanta studios. And tonight they'll preview the Sonics and Rockets Game 7 and talk with Dikembe about the situation, the very troubled situation in his country, Zaire. That's coming up 1:25 from now. 40-37. And the foul is called on Chris Childs.
Pat Riley is using the power game to get back into this basketball game. First, he started out, he established Alonzo Mourning down on the post. Now he's going to establish Tim Hardaway on the post, and he's going to try to force Miami or the Knicks to trap or let those two guys beat him.
And just to file this one away, this is the first of the 5 games in which Alonzo Mourning has not been forced to the bench with foul trouble in the first half.
You think that's a coincidence that Patrick Ewing's not here?
Nay.
The thing with Alonzo, though, and we keep talking about the Patrick Ewing thing, Alonzo didn't get his fouls on Patrick Ewing. He got them by setting picks, by loose balls and things like that.
Rebound, Johnson on the Hardaway miss. Miami 1 of 6 at the free throw line. 1:10 to go in the half. Nice pass. Beauty. John Starks.
And John Wallace gets something to go in for him.
That's the first basket after 6 misses. And it's back to a 5-point margin. Hardaway looks for Mourning, settles for Deshaun Leonard. Now there's the give from Mourning and the reverse layup from Leonard.
Well, I tell you what, Alonzo is having the game of games right now. He is playing so well, so under control.
A 3-point margin, 42-39. Starks. Mourning with a rebound. And a foul is called on John Starks, who is angry, I think, more at the miss than the foul.
Yeah, he's angry at himself. They looked at it. They were about to call it a technical, and they realized that. That's a nice job by Jimmy Clark to notice that that was not at him, but more at himself.
Matter of fact, during the timeout, you were saying that Jimmy Clark, Joe Forty, and Ed Rush have done a good job tonight.
I think they came in here in a wild atmosphere, and Jeff Van Gundy made a great point. He said he was worried about the refs thinking that the players would come out and play for revenge. And players don't do that. They just come out to play, and he was worried that the refs would think they would. They didn't. I think they've done a phenomenal job.
Alonzo's woes at the free throw line continue, but watch the assist.
Yeah, look at that pass. I mean, he looked for that. If the pass wasn't there, he was going to take his time and then try to score.
That cuts the lead to 2. Miami has never led. They trail by 10 at the end of the first.
But darn nothing, they've weathered the storm. They're in this game until the end now.
Wallace calls for it. He's guarded by Marley. Baseline jumper is good.
You know, Jeff Van Gundy has told us early in the year, he said John Wallace has moves like a veteran on offense. On defense, he plays just like a rookie.
And he's not the most prompt player in practice. 4-point margin. Ashburn backs up and takes the shot. Tip is out of bounds with .7 remaining in the half.
I think this is a big psychological advantage for the Knicks to go in with a lead. Now Jeff Van Gundy can say, guys, we can do this.
Blake Oakley was in the game, and tonight in his absence, Miami has won. Dan Marley out.
And that was the first possession of the game. You would expect that at least Alonzo Mourning would have an offensive rebound at this point. I think this is a key time in the game for the Miami Heat. This is a great chance to get back in it to start the third quarter because most teams come out flat. The Knicks are playing on emotion. Usually when you come out of the locker room at halftime, emotions are down.
That's interesting. Why so?
Because you've been sitting for 20 minutes hearing someone else talk instead of thinking about the game.
In the corner, the pump fake and the basket. In and out. Mourning with a rebound. Let's set the 5 on the floor. It's Hardaway, Rashawn Leonard, Mourning, Mashburn, and Marley for Miami. Here's Jamal Mashburn, looks inside with Tim Hardaway's in the post. 10 on the shot clock. Hardaway. New York ball.
The only mistake I think Pat Riley is making by not wanting to run with the Knicks is that it takes Tim Hardaway's biggest advantage. He can't get in the open court. And he does have an advantage on the post, but you still want Tim Hardaway in the open court.
Chris Childs, who's guarded by Hardaway. Larry Johnson picked up by Mashburn. Johnson, acrobatic move, and he is fouled. Here's to the free throw.
And he's the one guy so far that hasn't really made a dent with his offense, and you would think he would be the guy. You can bet in this half they're going to go to Larry Johnson a little bit more and ask him to score or do this, beat you off the dribble and draw fouls.
Johnson at the free throw line. Mashburn with his second foul tonight.
And you can see it. The emotion right now is not here. What's going to happen, what it's going to take is someone's going to make a big play, and they'll start back up where they were at in the first half. But in the meantime, the Heat should be trying to make a run.
A 5-point margin now. Early third quarter. Childs guards Hardaway. Starks has Leonard, who's not been a factor, and we thought he might be tonight. Mashburn. Oh, he backed in easily.
Yeah, that's too easy. Larry Johnson gave up so much ground. Mashburn turns around and he's laying the ball up.
Miami has never led. They got within 2 in the second quarter. They trailed by as many as 10. Starks back to Johnson. The rotation has Marley on him. Larry Johnson back to the free throw line. Alonzo Mourning, his second foul.
And Alonzo Mourning, or Larry Johnson, saw Alonzo Mourning, and he took it right to him. I think Larry Johnson was actually going to shoot the jump shot, and he saw who was under the basket, and he took the ball right to Alonzo. I mean, look at this. Larry Johnson has a shot. He goes right up into him. And Alonzo fouls. He bails him out. Larry Johnson was trying to draw the foul. If Alonzo moves out of the way, I don't know if Larry could have made that shot.
Johnson gets the first free throw. Mashburn 2 of 6 tonight. Johnson 3 of 6.
But so far in the second half, that's the only place the ball has really gone, to either Mashburn or Larry Johnson. I think both coaches want to try to establish their players first.
Back to a 5-point game, under 10 to go, third quarter. Rashawn Leonard. Penetration, the dish, the Mourning who wasn't ready for it. Loose ball picked up by the Knicks. Here comes Childs. He's got Starks on the right side, but he'll take it all the way. And get the basket. A 7-point margin.
And you can see the crowd and the Knicks starting to get back into the game. The Heat have to match that intensity.
Childs with the emotional play as he went end to end. Here's Mourning. Oh, my goodness.
They're letting them play.
Are they ever?
That is Alonzo Mourning's advantage. He has the size, he has the height, and now they're going to let him play, which I like. I'm glad they're letting him play. I think by not letting him play in the last game is what caused the awful rhythm game for both teams.
Buck Williams rejected by Mourning. Here comes Hardaway. It's 2-on-2. Hardaway kicks it back outside to Marley. He finds Mourning behind the back pass. Lucky they got it back.
Yeah, he knows he will not do that again tonight.
Mashburn. Oakley. Nope. The tip. Keep it alive. Loose ball. Here comes Johnson and Childs. Mashburn slow getting back. Buck Williams.
And Pat Riley, timeout. Timeout. Mashburn never got back. He still is not across half court.
Mourning, Mashburn, Hardaway, Rashawn Leonard, and Marley. Leonard posts up John Starks. Takes it in, tough shot, no. With the tip, no. Childs again with a full court rush off the front end. Loose ball picked up by Mashburn.
But he is putting a lot of heat on the Heat right now. Didn't mean to use that reference.
Oh, that's okay. Leonard. Oh, my gracious. He's 1 of 6 shooting tonight. At the other end, Starks kicks it out to Oakley. And here comes Bashawn Leonard.
And you can see Riley standing up saying, slow down, slow down. We don't want to get the crowd involved. And that's what they're doing. They're taking their time.
51-44. There was a 4-point margin at the end of 2 quarters. Mourning. Buck Williams, offensive foul.
You knew he was coming.
Yep.
He almost got it the time before, and the ref let it go. You knew that Buck Williams was going to try to draw this foul.
Interesting. Pat Riley, Willie Anderson is going to come in. And it's not going to be for Mourning. It's going to be Bashawn Leonard.
No, he only has 3 fouls, so he
Right.
can stay in the game. But now he has to be careful.
Can he be?
I don't think he can. I don't think he should be, because that's not how he plays. A careful Alonzo Mourning is not a good Alonzo Mourning.
Giles and Hardaway, the lead is 7 at the 7-minute mark of the 3rd quarter. Starks tipped away by Mourning, saved by Oakley. Takes the jumper, got it.
Pure emotion. That's what the Knicks are playing on. Adrenaline.
They play without Ewing and without Houston and without Charlie Ward. Marley to quiet the crowd.
Boy, Marley has been big and early going in the game. No one else was doing anything but Marley. Right now they needed a 3. Who shoots it? The veteran, Dan Marley.
That cuts the margin to 6. Ike Austin getting ready to come in. There's Buck Williams with Mourning all over him. And Willie Anderson comes down with the rebound.
Boy, that was a key play right there.
Mashburn. He's fouled by Chris Childs.
That was a key play right there with Alonzo Mourning. He has a chance, not only Buck Williams to make a shot, but maybe draw the 4th foul on Alonzo. Alonzo stands his ground here and goes up again, gets a hand on it, and stops the play. That's a big play for Alonzo Mourning.
They have the fast break at the other end, but Mashburn was fouled and goes to the free throw line.
Chris Childs just had to. He saw a fast break, fouled him, knocked him down, make him shoot the free throw. That's what every team in the playoffs do. At least the teams that are alive.
Ike Austin will give Mourning a rest.
Nice move. Nice move again by Pat Riley. Getting Alonzo out right now. The game's getting a little emotional. He has 3 fouls. Save him a little bit. Be nice to have him go in the 4th quarter with 3 fouls to use.
Mashburn gets both, and it's a 4-point game, 53-49. Chris Childs. Looks inside. Larry Johnson fights through the traffic. Gets the pass. Marley with the switch. And Johnson. Dan Marley picks up the foul.
Yeah, Dan Marley is upset because he said he got all ball. I think what the refs are saying is you fouled him the entire play, so I'll give it to you now. See, I thought the foul was right there. They didn't call it, and I thought that part was clean. And Larry could have been called for an offense, but I think they're saying that Dan Marley fouled first before LJ did what he did.
Yes.
5-point margin.
I hope kids aren't watching guys shoot.
You know, he's got the same hesitation that
Same
Ewing's
thing as
got.
Patrick Ewing
Right.
does. He stops at the top of his shot every time. What a tough way of shooting. And you can see both teams going in the paint. He fakes you out every time.
Mourning sits, 3 fouls, 6-point game, 5:44 to go in the 3rd quarter. Game Game 6, Eastern Conference semis. A Miami win sends the two teams back to Florida on Sunday. A New York win means they go to Chicago on Sunday. Austin foul.
Boy, Austin got away. I don't know if he got away because it was accidental. He hits Buck Williams in the face. Take a look at this. Watch. Oh, wow. Elbow right to the jaw. You think they're letting him play, Vern?
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, and I think Buck Williams probably showed some of his acting abilities on that also. Did get hit, but not as hard as he made it look.
Austin with a three-point play, and it's a three-point game. Childs and Oakley and Starks and Buck Williams and Larry Johnson for New York.
And this is what Pat Riley wants. He knew he had to rest Alonzo at some point. He takes him out, and the Miami Heat, they're staying close.
Willie Anderson, Childs gets it over Hardaway. Oh, boy, that's for three.
That's a nice touch.
Oh, what a shooter's bounce. 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Austin with a jumper, no. Rebound, Starks. John Starks just picked up his 9th rebound. That's a career playoff high. Underneath, Johnson, left-handed. Mashburn got it to Marley. And here comes Miami.
And Pat Riley wants to post Tim Hardaway up one more time.
Marley kicks it back to Hardaway. That's for three.
Didn't have to. Didn't have to. Larry Johnson falls, and that breaks the entire plays down.
Jeff Van Gundy says, let's chat about this.
He's not a bad guy. He's a guy that on the court is crazed and plays with emotion, and sometimes he's out of control.
He leads his team with a three-point lead right now. Starks has it guarded by Willie Anderson. The pick from Herb Williams, who's back on the floor. And Ike Austin also plays. Here's Jamal Mashburn out on Williams. Jumper good.
And every point he scores is a plus for the Knicks.
Back to a 5-point margin. 3:48 to go, third quarter. Hardaway, Mashburn, Austin, Marley, and Willie Anderson. Morning continues to rest, and he sits with 3 fouls. They front Ike Austin, and he takes it, kicks it back outside to Hardaway with a jumper for 2, in and out. Oakley. Chris Childs. .3:15 to go, third quarter. Childs prowls the perimeter. Now the penetration. He finds Starks. John Starks. Larry Johnson for 2.
Starks is playing under control now in the first half. He was not. Now he has that. He gets a good pass into Larry Johnson.
Back to a 7-point margin.
And Pat Riley, as you can see, is coming back with Alonzo.
Mashburn, no. Marley. Contact with Larry Johnson. No foul call. They thought he might have stepped out of bounds. Anderson, he gets the roll.
Boy, I tell you what, the Heat and Dan Marley are coming up with big plays. They're not letting the Knicks get away from them. They're keeping them in their sights.
5 points and 2:30 to go, third quarter. New York has led throughout by 10 at the end of the first quarter, 4 at the half. Once Miami got within 2. That one. Oakley goes into the second roll. Out of bounds. And it's going to be Miami ball. Oakley, not a surprise that Charles Oakley.
Well, you know he's going to do it. He gives up his body. And the reason it's out of bounds is because the ball hit the referee, who was standing out of bounds. And that is actually a break for the Knicks because Dan Marley was off to the races.
That's a $1,000 seat on the front row. And all of a sudden you look up and here comes this 6'9", 270-pounder flying at you.
Yeah, all of a sudden those seats aren't that good anymore when Charles Oakley runs at you.
Matter of fact, it was $1,000 for the regular season.
What is it now?
$2,000.
Oh, my. I like the game, but
Morning back in the floor. Back to Marley. And here's Morning again. Alonzo, fouled by Herb Williams.
See, Herb Williams has fouls to give. and he's going to give him. Every time he thinks he has Alonzo and playing him well, he will not foul him. Every time he thinks Alonzo has him and has a chance to shoot and make it, he will foul him, and that's why he fouled him right there.
Jeff Van Gundy chats with Eddie Rush. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, Monday night from Salt Lake City. The Jazz will play either Seattle or Houston. Alonzo Mourning now 3 of 7. And if this one goes to 7, you'll see it on NBC Sunday from Miami. If it's game 1, it'll be New York at Chicago. So the potential for 2 game 7s this weekend on NBC.
And very high.
Yes.
This was very high.
Back to a 3-point edge. 1:50 to go, third quarter. Larry Johnson sets the pick for Childs. Penetration, up and under, beautiful play.
He is playing fantastic. Getting to the bucket. This is a well-played basketball game.
13 points for Childs. Mourning fights Williams for position.
Look, oh, wow. That was a bad foul by Herb Williams. Look where he had Alonzo. He had him all the way out by the three-point line. All he had to do was play defense. Look where Herb Williams fights Alonzo Mourning. He wants it there. Look where he ends up catching the basketball. And no, this is not a wrestling match. Out by the three-point line. After you get a guy that far away from the basket, you should just back off and say, catch it. 3 in a row for Alonzo. Now, of all the bad free throw shooters in the league, you know, Chris Webber, who we never talk about, is an awful free throw shooter.
Right.
And Dudley, this is the guy who can really shoot the basketball. Alonzo Mourning is the one that surprises me the most because he can shoot the basketball.
Well, that's why this problem he's had in the playoffs is really inexplicable because, and this season, Doc.
Yeah, you know it's upstairs.
Right.
With other guys, sometimes it's mechanics. With Alonzo, it's 100% mental.
Miami is perfect from the line in the third quarter now, 8 of 8. Larry Johnson, ball's on the floor. Herb Williams picks it up, gets it back to Johnson. Mourning out on him. Johnson, spin move and the fadeaway. Wow, what a tough shot clock violation.
And you think Alonzo didn't know what he was going to do? He played with them in Charlotte. Alonzo played that play perfect. He knew exactly where he was going to go, and he knew when he was going to fade, and Larry Johnson could not make the shot over him.
1:02 to go, third quarter in game 6.
And we keep talking in terms of weathering the storm. Miami has weathered another New York run and storm, and they did it when Alonzo Mourning was on the bench.
Final 50, third quarter. Ike Austin underneath, and he has a chance to tie this one up. John Crotty is going to come on for the final 50 seconds of the third quarter and give Hardaway a rest and make sure he doesn't pick up a cheap foul. As Starks gets his third foul of the night, Austin with a chance to notch this at 64.
And this would be the first time since the beginning of the game. The game's been tied, and I think that's a mental block so far for the Knicks, is not allowing Miami to get a lead. Now they can tie it here. They still have not gotten a lead.
We're tied at 64.
New ball game.
Crotty picks up Chris Childs. Here's Starks. He and Giles have gone the distance with the exception of a couple of minutes. Back to Starks. Oakley. Underneath, Larry Johnson got position and takes that patented little pull away in the lane.
And that's a big shot because it gives them the edge again.
That ends a 9-2 run. John Crotty. They front Mourning. Willie Anderson. Loose ball. Oakley. No shot there. Here's Starks. He's got Giles. How about Crotty?
Boy, that's twice John Starks has had numbers and turned the ball over.
John Crotty finds Austin and will come the other direction. The ball on the floor. That's the end of the quarter. Watch the play by John Crotty for Miami.
Yeah, and once again, he just guessed, and he guessed right, went down to the ground. And you know the Rangers and the Flyers are playing right now. He was a goaltender on that play right there. they don't, they lose.
John Wallace on the floor as we start the fourth. He's joined by Oakley, Herb Williams. Here's Oakley, and he will go to the free throw line.
Watching Charles Oakley drive to the basket in slow motion is just hilarious, and he always draws fouls. I think he's so slow that the guy is guarding him fouls him.
The man wears cement shoes.
Yes.
And they are, they don't compliment his suits. We have seen Oak in some get-ups over the course of this series.
But I'm not going to tell him.
No. Scotty Brooks back on now. Gives Chris Childs a rest.
And Miami will go down to Tim Hardaway on the post.
Scott Brooks playing in his 9th year. I scared the wits out of his family in Northern California last week when I suggested he was ready to quit and take your place.
Yes.
And they got nervous.
Scared my family too.
Scotty's back next year somewhere. If all goes well, it'll be right here in New York. Up and under, Ike Austin.
Ike Austin is having a nice game.
One of the stories of the season for New York. Here's Starks at the other end. Wallace and Oakley chase it down, and Scott Brooks has it in his hands.
Oakley in the crowd once again.
Starks, Brooks. Back to Starks. 5 on the shot clock. Starks, they switch out. He's got no chance but to take that, but terrific defense from Miami. Now here's Crotty. So it's Crotty and Hardaway and Marley. They're 3 guards. Rashawn Leonard sits on the bench. Mourning and Ike Austin.
And this is the first time the Heat have had a chance to take the lead on this possession. This would be big for them.
Marley in and out. Out of bounds and touched last by Herb Williams.
Right now, and in this second half, basically, the Heat have slowed down the Knicks break. The Knicks are going to have a tough time trying to score in a half-court offense.
Look at the rebound edge, and you're reminded that P.J. Brown will not play in Game 7 if there is one. Suspended for both games because of the brawl the other night. Crotty with the jumper, no. Loose ball taken by Oakley. Having trouble controlling it.
That's because he can't dribble.
And Marley with the takeaway. Another chance for Miami to get the lead. Here's Hardaway. Herb Williams gets back, and a foul underneath is called on.
Alonzo Mourning, and I think it's going to be an elbow, and it's on Scotty Brooks. The more interesting thing is Jeff Van Gundy running to his players to tell them to stay on the bench.
4 fouls on Mourning, and there's the cheap one.
Yeah, and that was almost an accidental one right there. He was bringing his arms down. He got him caught up, and he hit Scott Brooks in the head. Now, you have to call it a foul because just because it was an accident, it was still a foul. But there was nothing Alonzo Mourning could do about that foul. I thought it was more interesting watching Van Gundy run. You know, they saw that again. All the players were standing up. He's saying, sit down, and you understand why.
Jeff Van Gundy described what happened in Miami the other night as karma. Bad karma. Oakley kicks it out to Williams. Brooks in the corner. Baseline now. Back to Williams. And here's the outlet to Mourning with a chance for the lead. Got it. Miami's on top for the first time tonight.
And that's a big mental block. They are over it, and the Knicks will call a timeout.
Game 6, 9:36 remaining in regulation. Miami leads by 1.
Well, Doc said he wouldn't spend the money for front row seats. Being a business partner of his, I understand that. But I know you're here all the time.
Yeah, I love the guard. It's a great. You can see the energy here, man. It's great. You know, there's no place like it.
All right, back to Vern.
Craig, are you suggesting my partner's on the cheap side?
That's smart, but I can tell you what, Chris Mullins didn't pay for that seat.
In the lane, Mourning, no. Miami up by 1, 68-67. Chris Childs back on the floor. Goes by Hardaway. Tipped underneath. And Oakley in and out. Loose ball chased down in the corner. Childs says, let's settle it down.
Boy, the Knicks are getting to every loose ball. That's the only reason they're in this game, is because of the way they are out-rebounding the Heat.
Oakley looks for Johnson. 10 on the shot clock. Larry Johnson. Got it!
Larry Johnson didn't do much in the first half, but he's coming up big for the Knicks in this second half. They needed points in the worst way, and they need some in the half-court set. And Larry Johnson is giving it to them.
That foul on Ike Austin, his third team foul in the quarter. 3-point play, New York. They're up by 2. Here comes Hardaway, guarded by Childs. Larry Johnson with 20 points tonight. Buck Williams out on the switch. That leaves Mourning open. Loose ball, Williams. In the corner, Oakley. Wow. Huge shot. Charles Oakley is 7 of 9 from the field.
Boy, he's going to tell the rest of the world, I should be an offensive player from this point on. And he's making me a believer.
That's what you're talking about.
That wasn't a coincidence either.
8:02 to go in the ball game. Childs guards Hardaway. Jumper. Loose ball again. Larry Johnson. Starks. Childs wants it back.
Every loose ball.
Pick and roll with Buck Williams. Here's Starks, looks inside for Johnson, who had good position, but Mashburn reached around. Now he goes right side. Oh, goodness. Tough shot. Thought he had it. Here comes Hardaway. 7:20 to go. Hardaway for 3.
Boy, that was a fortunate play. Alonzo Mourning just leveled Chris Childs, and the ref didn't see it, and Tim Hardaway gets a big jumper.
A 1-point ball game. Childs, spin move.
Boy, he is taking it at Tim Hardaway right now.
Knicks by 3. Here's Mourning guarded by Buck Williams. Hardaway for 3 again. Nope. Oakley rebound. Foul on Marley. Watch the one they didn't get.
Oh, wow. Came to the Heat. No one thought it was that big of a deal. Right now, I bet they think it's a big deal. They could use him.
Johnson. Childs. Oakley.
Why not?
Yeah, we all thought it might go, or would go. 6:15 remaining. The lead is 3. P.J. Brown suspended for 2 games. Here's Ike Austin, who has played well tonight. Mourning. And Childs gets it and takes it away. Bounce pass, Oakley. Oh, what a rejection by Ike Austin. Here comes Miami's Hardaway. What a play by Ike Austin. Vashawn Leonard, no. Marley offensive board, Hardaway. Spots up for 3, got it.
Marley once again. Hardaway made the shot, but Marley, playing his best P.J. Brown imitation, is getting rebounds and finding guys. That is a big, big turnaround.
Isaac Austin's defensive play made it possible. We're tied at 74. Starks. Johnson. Offensive foul.
2 big plays in a row by Ike Austin. Look at the help defense. Right now, Larry Johnson has a huge advantage over Vashawn Leonard. LJ throws his body. That's a great call by the referees. They've done a phenomenal job tonight.
Ike Austin, who a year ago was playing in Turkey, Lost 70 pounds. Pat Riley gave him a shot. He was selected most improved player in the league. Mourning with a near moving screen again.
He is so close.
Oh, he threw the hip. Here's Austin. Searching, working, puts it up, no. Starks rebound. 11 John Starks rebounds tonight. Childs, Oakley. Austin somehow didn't fall into it. And Mourning kicks it out.
And that was an ugly shot by Charles Oakley. Tried to throw it up left-handed.
Deshaun Leonard got it. Oakley has missed his last 3, but the huge play defensively by Isaac Austin set up the tying 3-pointer. At Oklahoma City and wound up playing in Turkey. And now what a presence here in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Oakley has missed his last 4. Loose ball, Hardaway. Here comes Miami. Hardaway kicks it back to the trailing Dan Marley. They got him.
And it's quiet in the Garden. Miami has stayed close. Now they have a 4-point lead. And the Knicks, instead of running, are starting to walk up and play a half-court offense. And if they do, they're in trouble.
Underneath, Buck Williams. And another defensive play. This one from Alonzo Mourning. 4 blocks for Mourning. Hardaway in the lane. Yes! Timeout, New York. A stunned New York crowd is watching this Miami Heat. They've now scored 9 in a row. Greg Sager.
Well, during the New York huddle, the instructions to John Walsh in particular to foul Alonzo Mourning. Meanwhile, they're going to try to get Tim Hardaway to continue to get his shots off the dribble or while he's moving. When he throws to the post and throws it back out stationary, they haven't done anything. They want Hardaway to go ahead and run the offense.
Well, that's what they would love, to get him to run the offense and stop shooting the ball. Chris Mullins told us that Hardaway would go on a run. I think Chris Mullins has played with Hardaway, so he would know that.
Golden State.
That's a team they broke up. Boy.
Oh.
Mitch Richmond, too. You remember that?
Yes. Giles gets them both. The lead is 4, 3:34 to go. New York has 1 timeout remaining. Miami has 4. Hardaway. If Miami wins, Game 7 on Sunday on NBC. Hardaway almost coughs it up to Larry Johnson. Deshaun Leonard, guarded by Starks. Marley takes the 3. Oh, brother.
That is big, and he knew it when it left his hand. Dan Marley is the MVP for the Heat in this game right now.
Third 3 for Marley. The lead is back to 7 at the 3-minute mark. Here's Chris Childs. Right side to John Starks. Deshaun Leonard has him defensively. They kick it outside to Childs. Pump fake. Austin. They throw it up. Rebound, Deshaun Leonard.
Boy, I don't know what that was. Chris Childs had an open shot, didn't shoot it, and decided to take a 360. I think he thought that the clock was running out, and it wasn't. He had 4 seconds left on the clock.
I think that's exactly it, Doc. A misread of the shot clock. 8 seconds to go. Hardaway, no. Starks will let it go out of bounds. Watch the shot of Dan Marley.
But more importantly, I want you to look at where Dan Marley is standing. John Wallace has never seen that in college basketball. He's thinking, wow, there's no way he can shoot the ball.
Starks got it!
Oh, wow, that's one right back in it. That is a huge shot.
No hesitation for John Starks. He shot it on the catch. 4-point game. Here's Marley again, looks for Mourning. Oakley guards Mourning. They kick it out to Marley for 3. Another one!
Wow, another one. And that is why you have Dan Marley on the court, because you know he not only can make it, he wants to take it.
4 threes for Marley. He's got 18 points. Larry Johnson, Mourning, flies at him. 5 on the shot clock. Underneath the Childs. Yes, and a foul.
Boy, big play after big play. Early on, it was the Heat that wouldn't go away. Now it's the Knicks making big plays. And look at John Starks, a lot like Dan Marley. He wants to take it also.
That foul on Mourning, his 5th. Marley from the corner just a moment ago.
And that's why John Wallace is coming out of the game. Jeff Van Gundy took a gamble putting him in, and twice Dan Marley burned him.
Miami's lead is 4. 95 seconds to go in regulation. Hardaway and Childs, no love lost between those two. Marley sets the pick. Now Mourning sets the pick. Mourning for 3.
Oh, wow.
My goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
And Mourning, exulting over the shot, taunts the crowd verbally. And it was so quiet we could all hear what he said.
It wasn't nice what he said, but the shot was terrific, and that is now the shot of the game. Which wastes time on the clock.
Childs gets the pick from Buck Williams. Hardaway guards Childs. Now John Starks and Sean Leonard playing body up on him. Starks deflected underneath by Alonzo Mourning. 5 blocks. Alonzo Mourning. Starks fouls Hardaway.
They had a foul to give, so that's a good foul. Now, if Alonzo Mourning touches this basketball, I guarantee you they foul. But I think the Knicks are almost in a situation where they just want to foul anyone. I think they want to play D, but if Alonzo catches the ball, you foul him.
Marley will inbound, and Miami calls a timeout with difficulties on the inbound play. I think one thing should be made, one point should be made here. Of course, Patrick Ewing obviously out of action tonight. We've been listening to the radio here in New York and reading every article concerning this game, and I think that the New York press has treated this issue of the suspensions with equanimity. I thought they've been very understanding about what happened.
Yeah, it's been more than split. I think more than half of the people from New York press-wise, just press-wise, thought that what happened should have happened. I think more of them were more upset that they thought the Knicks had a chance to win that last game. They didn't take care of business, and it's their own fault.
Jeff Van Gundy telling us that one of the aftermaths of the brawl that took place in Miami was the people that forget how poorly New York played in that game with a chance to win it and wrap it up.
Yeah, and I think that's what people are missing. And one of the other things, Jeff Van Gundy, and he's right now, he said, hey, everyone's talking about we have the intangibles because of the situation tonight here. He said, I'd rather have tangibles than intangibles.
Well, if there was a defensive play of the night, it came from Isaac Austin, and it came with New York leading 74-71, and he blocked a layup. The Miami Heat went on a 9-0 run after that play, fueled by those two men, Marley and Mourning, and it would appear that Game 7 will take place in Miami on Sunday.
Yeah, that was the key play of the game. I thought Larry Johnson hit a three-point play earlier to give the Knicks a lift, and I thought Ike Austin's block shot turned this entire game around. Not only did they get the block shot, but then they came down and got a layup and a three-pointer back-to-back off that play. That was Ike Austin who turned this game around.
19,000 plus on hand tonight, and many of them heading for the exits now.
Yeah, they're gone. They're disappointed, and now it'll be interesting how they treat everything.
Childs fouls Hardaway. Well, NBC gets 2 Game 7s for the weekend. Coming up tomorrow from the Summit in Houston, the Seattle Sonics and the Houston Rockets. The winner of that one gets Utah on Monday. And they get a Game 7 in Miami. So I think Marv Albert, our colleague, is going to be down in Miami. I'm laughing a year ago. Bob Costas mentioned the announcers' names on TNT. He says, what are we doing, popping the announcers?
Well, we just popped Marv Albert.
Yes, absolutely.
He deserves it.
Matty Gukas will be there. Marv Albert is going to be honored by the NBA Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact, a long-time voice of the New York Knicks. Final 28 seconds. 92-84 starts. Got it. Three-pointers. And Buck Williams fouls Alonzo Mourning. And away from the ball, Deshaun Leonard is taken down by John Starks.
And you know, you look at this Miami Heat team. They lost P.J. Brown, a key guy. Yes, the Knicks did lose more players and more key players. But to come into Madison Square Garden and win this basketball game is huge. This is a big step for a young basketball team. And, you know, it's too bad because tomorrow, and for, even if they win this series, people were going to say, well, they got a huge advantage. Yeah, they had a huge advantage, but they played in Madison Square Garden, and they won. Alonzo still needs to make these free throws.
That's right. We do have 22 seconds left in the 5-point margin. And he got it. Well, Alonzo Mourning has played in the shadow of Patrick Ewing not only in this series, but throughout this season, indeed throughout his tenure in the NBA. John Thompson watching his 1992 center in this game. 6-point game. Starks for three. Whoa! Wow. 13.3. 3-point game, and Deshaun Leonard goes to the line. Wow. Wow.
They won't go away.
Well.
The problem is that was one of the big 3-point shooters who just fouled out in John Starks.
John Starks goes to the bench with his 6th foul, 15 points.
And if things don't work out for the Knicks, that was his last shot and last foul of this season. Unless Patrick Ewing and Allen Houston can pick it up for the Knicks in Miami.
Deshaun Leonard, been a quiet presence tonight.
He really has. I thought he would have a big game because he didn't have to worry about Allen Houston.
Back to a 5-point margin with just under 11 seconds remaining.
And you think not having timeouts didn't cost the Knicks?
Oakley for three. Nope. There will be a game 7. Dan Marley lights it up from 3-point range. Alonzo Mourning with a game-high 27 points. 28, he hit the last free throw. And he is with Craig Sager.
Alonzo, you played big games in your career, but you had to come in here to Madison Square Garden with all the pressure on your shoulders. What was it like, the feeling? When did you finally get over the nerves?
Well, to tell you the truth, we knew they were going to come out with a whole lot of emotion. Without a doubt, we knew they was going to, the crowd was pretty much going to help generate that, you know. We had to come out and match it with effort. We were a little sluggish from the start, you know, but we stayed in there and pushed and pushed and pushed and got over all the obstacles.
It may seem like years ago when you hit that three to turn the Celtics series around when you were with Charlotte. When you hit that three here, maybe remind you of that, or was this a bigger one?
You know, to tell you the truth, Craig, I didn't even think about it, you know, but God has blessed me with a lot of talents. You know, I've been fortunate to be a part of this ball club. You know, we got a great group of guys, you know, and our success is pretty much remnant of the successful season that we've had, you know, and when things haven't gone well for us, we managed to pick each other up in adverse situations, you know, and this was a situation this season where we all had to come and pick each other up, and we knew it was going to be a dogfight. We just came out on top.
Game 7 is at Miami, but New York will have Patrick Ewing back. What do you expect there?
Well, to tell you the truth, this felt like the toughest game of the whole series, to tell you the truth, you know, but we're going to have the home court. We've been playing fairly well at home, you know. We had the crowd behind us. We're going to use that to our advantage, and we've been playing fairly well at home, you know. So we got to take advantage of that, you know. Patrick's going to come out well rested and fired up, ready to play, and we're going to definitely going to match his effort. You know, we lost PJ, you know, but other guys are going to have to step up like we've done all year long.
Congratulations on carrying your team to Game 7. Good luck down in Miami.
Thanks a lot, Craig.
Let's go back to the table and Vern.
All right, Craig, once again, the final score with Alonzo Mourning scoring 28. The Miami Heat defeat the New York Knicks by 5. And that sets up Game 7 Sunday. Coverage of the NBA playoffs on TNT continues Monday as the Jazz host Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Stay tuned next for Inside the NBA. For Doc Rivers and Craig Sager, I'm Vern Lundquist saying so long from Madison Square Garden.